As we have a very interesting winter solstice this year, as Jupiter and Saturn conjoin in our sky and the sacred box at Uluru is opened to facilitate our ascension, I'd really like to speak to the fact that simplicity is most gratifying and beautiful after a period of complexity, just as relief is after a period of pain and suffering. And if you think of melody as the fundamental structure of everything that is, and harmony as the systems of oppression or liberation, depending on what we decide to harmonize existence with, then that would imply that we have the ability to change the way everything is by reharmonizing everything. And we can do this in music as one ceremonial, representative, holographic way of doing this. So, for example, the old and beautiful way of harmonizing something, say something in the key of C. In old country harmony, what they would do is they'd have the melody singer, and they'd have the tenor singer and the baritone singer. And the tenor singer is going to sing the note that is above the melody note in the chord. And if the melody note is the tonic, then the tenor singer is going to take the third above it, and the baritone is going to take a third above it. But the melody note obviously is not always going to be the tonic. So if it were the third, then the melody if the melody were the third, then the tenor singer would take a third above it at the fifth, but then the baritone would take a fourth above it, singing the tonic. And I'm not necessarily saying that they will really, by frequency, sing above it. Often they'll be an octave below what that note is, but that's how it's organized into what note they'll sing in terms of the harmonic series of what fits mathematically most beautifully into the overtones of the melody. And sometimes the melody note isn't even in the chord that you're on, and so you have a lot more options to fill in, but basically harmonizers are filling in the rest of the notes in the chord to support the melody. And sometimes it can get more complex. If you have a C7, someone might want to sing that B flat, or a C9, someone might want to sing that D, fill that out. But I want to talk about different options harmonically for a note and the ways that will really move it along. So, if I were in the key of C and I were to just sing the same note for a while, the tonic, la, 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 it's beautiful on its own, but support it with a C major chord, it's even more beautiful. La, 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 la. But what if I moved it while singing the same melody note to a 4 chord? La, 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 la. You feel so much movement and change and emotion there without changing the fundamental structure, without changing the melody. You're just changing the support and the emotion around it, and it feels like it changed completely. Or what if I wanted to change it from the 1 chord to the minor 6? La, 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 la. I made it sadder, darker. You can do all kinds of things with just the notes that you put around it. And here I wrote out some examples of, if you can see in blue, it's all the same C natural in every one of these chords. So if you were writing a song and composing the chords for it, or you wanted to change it, add some substitutions, make it have a different feel to a song that already had a harmonic progression, you could take some of these ideas, see all of these different chords that naturally have that tone in it, the C note. We had, as I played for you, an F major triad here. That C note is the 5th. In A minor triad, that C note is the minor 3rd. In the D7 chord, which would be the dominant 2 chord in the key of C, you have that C right there as that 7 note, the dominant note. Same with D minor dominant, D minor 7. It has that C note. Or you could even change it, make it minor, and tonic is still going to be a C. In F minor, if you wanted to try that, it's going to be the 5th. E flat 6, it would be the 6th note of that chord. In F sharp diminished, it would be that flatted 5 note of your diminished chord. And if you wanted to make it F sharp half diminished, you'd have a E at the top, and that would be the same as if you had A minor 6 chord with the F sharp in the bottom. It would be these 4 notes with the F sharp down there. And so those are very clear substitutions, chords that have the same notes in them, but are just called a different thing in relation to what other chords you're playing. Here are some examples where you have the same actual tone, but here it's going to be called B sharp instead of C, because it's in such sharp chords. So E augmented chord would have E, G sharp, and B sharp, but that's actually the same note as the C. Or G sharp would have G sharp, D sharp, G sharp, B sharp, D sharp, and so it's the 3rd. It's basically you're playing a C there, but it's a B sharp. This is just going back to A flat, it's the major 3rd there. And here in C sharp major 7, it's going to be the actual major 7 note, that B sharp or that C. It's going to be a half step down from the tonic. This is all to show you that you have many, many options for going into this period of complexity and beauty to move it in any direction that you want without changing the melody. You just have so many options for making it feel like it's moving and changing the emotions completely of something. And you have this same ability with the vibrations of your thoughts and your actions in the world as we are going through these periods of complexity, the ways you want to assign your emotions to it so that we can move it into a more beautiful place if you make that decision. And I hope that you will. Happy solstice.